Hello everybody, welcome back to another A Beginner's Guide to. This time we are looking at Archaludon EX. Now, I'm going to cover all four of the main new archetypes. One of them is a bit questionable because there's about a million different ways to play it, but we're going to cover like the rough basic list that I've seen already, talk about a couple of potential changes and go from there. So again, start off with Archaludon EX. Our main engine, of course, is the Archaludon EX itself with the Assemble Alloy ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic metal energy cards from your discard pile to your metal Pokemon any way you like. So there's obviously a lot of ways to discard in this deck. We will go through all the items and things like that, but the idea is you manually attach one turn, hope it survives, then use Assemble Alloy to get the next 2 energy on, or you can do it all in one turn as well. Like, even if you don't get a manual attachment up early, you can go into 3 energy of Archaludon straight away. So feels like a pretty powerful card. 300 HP metal Pokemon. The attack is Metal Defender, 220 damage for 3 metal energy. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon has no weakness. So I know a lot of people worried about fire weakness. I was get destroyed by Radiant Charizard. You're fine. Don't worry, Metal Defender's got you covered. Unless they gust you twice, but why would they do that? It seems silly. The nice thing about Archaludon as well is we do have access to a single prize board until we're ready. Duraludon is the basic Pokemon of choice, 130 HP, 1 attack Hammering for 30 damage, 1 metal energy cost, and Raging Hammer 80 plus, 2 metal and 1 colorless. This attack does 10 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So this Pokemon can do up to 200 damage. But Raging Hammer with Duraludon isn't what we're after. With the power of Relicanth and the ability Memory Dive, each of your evolved Pokemon can use this attack from its previous evolutions. You still need the necessary energy to use your attack. As you can see, Duraludon is 3 energy, Archaludon is 3 energy, you already got it covered. With Archaludon having 300 health, as long as it's surviving on 10 health, it is hitting for 370 damage. So if you're going to knock out an Archaludon, you better make sure you're knocking it out, because just putting damage on it isn't going to be good enough. Metal Defender is 220 damage. How are we knocking out stuff that has 230 health and 240 health? That's where we have Staryu and Starmie. Starmie has the ability Mysterious Comet. Once during your turn, you may put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you placed any damage counters in this way, discard this Pokemon and all attached cards. So this is an interesting card, an interesting combination, because if you, for example, go up against Raging Bolt, you hit them for 220, they have 240, they knock you out, you go, oh, that sucks. Anyway, blow up the Starmie. In fact, you don't even blow it up. It's not a knockout like Dustin Watt. It is just discard it. You knock out their Raging Bolt. They have to bring up something new. And if you've got a Boss's Orders available to then take over one of the Rogapons, you've suddenly taken 4 prizes in 1 turn. And you've just completely swung the prize trade in your favor. So it's a cool little combination. I will talk about another card that you can run instead of this, which requires a bit more work, maybe, to get together. As far as support Pokemon are concerned, we have the Evergreen Fezandipiti EX. Flip the script once during your turn. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, you may draw 3 cards. You can't use more than 1. Flip the script ability each turn. Iron Bundle for the Hyper Blower. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench. Your opponent chooses the new active Pokemon. If you do, discard the Pokemon and all attached cards. Again, if they bring up again, using the Raging Bolt as the example, it is the deck to beat for a lot of these decks. If they bring up a Raging Bolt and they've got a couple of Ogapon or a Squawkabilly on the bench, you can force that up, and that could be game winning right there. And of course, Radiant Greninja. With the ability Concealed Cards, you must discard an energy from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may draw 2 cards. So, as usual, trying to get rid of energy. We want more draw. Radiant Greninja is a natural fit for this deck. So, what are our trainer cards looking like? We have 4 Professor's Research. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. 3 Iono. Each player shuffles their hand and puts it onto the bottom of their deck. If either player puts any cards on the bottom of their deck in this way, each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. 2 Boss's Orders, switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot, and 1 Professor Turo Scenario, put one of your Pokemon in play into your hand, discard all cards attached to that Pokemon. Again, with the Assemble Alloy ability, discarding the energy off a damaged Archaludon doesn't seem like a bad thing at all. Speaking of discarding energy, we have 4 Ultra Ball. You can use this card only if you discard 2 other cards from your hand, switch your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. 4 Earthen Vessel. You can only use this card if you discard another card from your hand, switch your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. We also have 4 Nest Ball. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it onto your bench, shuffle your deck. 4 Night Stretcher. Put a Pokemon or basic energy card from your discard pile into your hand. That is to recycle the Starmies. You can theoretically use 2 in 1 turn by having 2 Staryus on the bench. Evolve 1 Starmie, discard it. Night Stretcher, evolve the other 1 Starmie. It's a good little combination. Then you can recover both the Starus if you want to. I wouldn't recommend doing that. You'd have no Starmie. But You could do that. 4 Pokemon Catcher, flip a coin. If heads, switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. 3 Pokegear, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You may reveal a support card you find there, put it into your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. You are quite a supporter draw-driven deck, so Pokegears are quite important here. You do run Greninja and Fezandipiti, but they aren't really cards to rely on for a consistent draw. 1 Palpad, shuffle up to 2 supporter cards from your discard pile into your deck. The ace spec of choice, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with this, but it has won me games, so I don't hate it. Just as a heads up, by the way, I kind of buried the lead on this. This was the Archaludon EX list that I believe Daichi used for the Elite Four tournament in Japan recently. I believe it's their 3rd year in a row. They're one of the Elite Four in Japan, so yeah, if they think it's worth using, I think it's worth using. Megaton Blower, discard all Pokemon tools and special energy from all of your opponent's Pokemon and discard a stadium in play. So it can do a lot of damage, especially if you're dealing with a Lugia, for example. If they've loaded up everything to get going, and then you just blast it all off, it's pretty handy. As well as 3 Pokestop, 1 during each player's turn. That player may discard 3 cards from the top of their deck. If a player discards any item cards in this way, they put those item cards into their hand. Again, it's just more draw for trying to find stuff like Ultra Ball, Earthen Vessel, Night Stretcher, etc. You do have quite a lot of items in the deck. And 8 Basic Energy. I did mention alternate things being played in this deck. There is a top 4 list from a recent Jester's Weekly Challenge of Archaludon that was playing 3 Turo scenario, I believe. So just making sure they never die, which seemed like a very good list. It is one I want to test out at some point. I mentioned as well doing the chip damage to help out the Archaludon damage on things like Raging Bolt. One of the things that would be recommended for that is Iron Valiance EX. I have seen lists that literally just run that and a single future booster energy just so you can constantly cycle it around, which is kind of crazy. You've got the ability Tachyon Bits. Once during your turn, when this Pokemon moves from your bench to the active spot, you may put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So again, if you can keep that in play, that can do as much work as Starmie. I would argue the Starmie package is I don't know if it's better, but I think the fact that it's a single prizer, it's a free pivot as well. I think the Starmie might have a little bit more going for it, but again, I think it needs a little bit more testing to be sure. So that's it for Archaludon EX. I think it's quite a promising deck, actually. I really enjoy it. I do think the 220 damage might be a little bit weak. There is potential for like running maybe Maximum Belt or Defiance Band, stuff like that. Even Vitality Band just to hit for 230 might be enough to help in enough situations. Especially, I mean, you can keep the Starmie as well. It probably makes sense to kind of run both. It's just deciding what to cut, because you're not running any Arvens or anything, so you are relying on just drawing into them, but the same logic goes with Raging Bolt for using Bravery Charm. Like, they have no way to just find them, so yeah, maybe you draw enough for it to work. Replacing the Megaton Blow with Maximum Belt is also probably a good shout. You hit him for 270 then, which takes care of one particular card we'll be talking about in a different video, Cerulege EX, which might be a bit of a problem for this deck. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, guys. As usual, the list will be in the description below if you want to check it out. All my social media links are in the description below, and I need to get to doing this more. Shout out to the patrons, as always. They'll be on screen right now. If you want to join them, you know where to go. All the links are in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. See ya!